Unverschämt inspiriert. Heute eine englische Version aus Chalabre. Ich bin immer noch in... maybe I should speak in English.
Also ich spreche lieber Englisch.
Yeah. Okay, gut.
We start again.
Okay. Unashamedly inspired today from Chalabre in France, South France, and I have Gertrud with me. I'm her guest in her boutique hotel, boutique retreat center in just do it again. Boutique retreat
center.
Okay, boutique.
I do my hair. My hair is a mess. Okay.
Wait, once again. Okay. Unverschämt inspiriert. Today an English version, because I'm still in south of France, and I have the joy being in the boutique retreat center, Yobaba Lounge, and Gertrud is the owner and founder of it. And I'm really pleased that she is giving me an interview today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You are so inspiring, and I love to be here. It's such an inspiration. It's such a quiet place for me, where I rejuvenate and have great delicious vegan food. And amazing yoga or embodied meditation classes in the morning. And so the things you are talking while we're having the classes inspired me to actually ask you for an interview.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Yeah. So which bits did inspired you particularly then?
So you're talking about how you actually founded your embodied, or how you called it embodied meditation and not a yoga, and how this practice is creating, or how you're gonna do a feminine way of yoga. What totally resonates with me, because I'm not really the person who is doing yoga in a kind of exercising way.
Yeah,
I'm more into this deep feeling thing, and this resonates much more with me.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah, and even all your little bites, or little nuggets you just share while we having breakfast. One of the other thing was that really struck me is, as your sister told me, you gave birth of your child at home.
Yes, I did. I felt very uncomfortable in a hospital environment.
Yeah.
I didn't know why, and I have now found out why. I had bad experience as a baby in a hospital, but so I felt disempowered in hospitals.
Yeah.
And when I was pregnant with my first son, I did expect to give birth in hospital, and I did go to some kind of screening. And because they treated me with such disregard, I was just a number on their list, and I had to wait around for hours. And then they got information wrong, even though they should have had it. And I just felt completely distrustful of it. So I looked for independent midwives who recommended that I should give birth at home. And I thought, all right. I asked them a few more questions. I said, yes, we can support you in hospital, but we recommend that you do it at home. And that was it. I then had the support of these amazing midwives, and I refused to do any antenatal classes. I refused to read any books. I trusted my body implicitly. I wanted to experience it in the way that my body wants to give birth, so that I don't have any ideas beforehand how I should be doing it. And so it was, of course, painful, but you know, a woman here who I respect a lot, Maria, she said the reason we have so much pain in birth is because during the birthing process, apparently, we go off into, I don't know where, but we go off and we collect all the parts that are needed for this baby as the baby's being birthed.
Oh wow!
It's giving me goosebumps.
Me too. Yeah.
And in order for us to stay grounded on the earth, we need the pain so that we don't float off completely. Wow. So in a way, that kind of explained things for me. But so it was at home. I gave birth on the floor in my bedroom. and my first son was born in the birth sack. It was beautiful. Yeah, I can highly recommend it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And me as a doula, or I'm a doula, so, and I have a special connection to giving birth, the way how women actually giving birth. So I thought in those time, I mean, it's pretty much 25 years ago.
Yeah, 1993.
Wow, yeah.
Yes.
But then I would think it wasn't really like common.
No, it was already discouraged. The insurance system was beginning to withdraw insurance cover from independent midwives. And everyone I told, they said, what, how, God, you're courageous. And I always thought, no, you are courageous to go into an environment like a hospital to give birth. I mean, I don't know how you are supposed to do it. You're halfway through your labor, you are in pain, and then you're supposed to walk in a car, go to a hospital, register, give them sensible answers. Of course, it's all going to disrupt everything. Anyway, don't get me going. I'm going to rant and rave.
Oh, I really love it. So,
but you need good support. You need to have someone who has the trust in the woman's body and who will recognize if something is going wrong, because you can then still transfer to the hospital. So there are risks, but they're very different risks to giving birth.
In my picture, it's like really like going inwards and creating a space of beauty where something new can be born.
Yes.
So, and this is totally not what our actual environment in hospitals is. And so this is somehow really hurting my heart.
Yes. No,
so if I imagine that, and even in the class as I became a doula, as I saw how the interventions really have a big impact on the baby.
And on the mother, and on your ability afterwards to have confidence in your decisions as a mother, because you're going to have to make many decisions. In a spot moment, you have to decide, and you have to feel confident. And so I saw a lot of my friends who had given, I didn't know if it's to do with giving birth in hospital, or whether I'm just a bloody-minded person who was arrogant enough to believe her own opinions, right? Could be. But I saw them doubting themselves all the time, doing loads of research. Should I be giving formula? Should I do breast milk? Should I do 4 hours feeding? Should I feed on demand? Should he sleep in a separate room, or should he sleep with us in bed? All these questions. They didn't have an intuition about it. You might have an intuition that your child should sleep in a separate room and that you can facilitate that. That's perfect. My intuition was my child sleeps with me. That's perfect. But it was my decision, and it wasn't done in uncertainty.
And I think intuition, that's really an important part of it, because in a way sometimes we get lost of that, or we don't trust that anymore. But what I want to do with Unashamedly Inspired is just sharing stories where people trusted themselves, and where they maybe went over things where others would say, you shouldn't do this kind of thing.
Yes.
So, and this makes it, or this gives your opinion more relevance than others. And so I'm sure you did a lot of more unashamed decision, as I know. Yeah. Maybe I would love if you share some, which is actually coming to your mind. So what was, if you think, your most unashamed decision you did?
Oh my God, I have done so many. I mean, one thing I want to say, I am very lucky that I have had parents who brought us up without using fear as a tool. So I feel that has given me just the sheer naive arrogance to think that if I make a decision, it's going to work out. And so I've lived,
worked out.
And it works out. Here I am, I'm alive, and I'm me, right? But and I've done this from, I mean, there's so many, but let's get back to the yoga. It's the way I got into yoga, perhaps, is another one of these decisions where I made a conscious decision not to do a yoga teacher training, because I had my own practice for probably 18 months, almost 2 years before I started teaching my own retreats. It was because having had my own practice, after having attended maybe I don't know, 5 or 6 yoga classes, and then I developed my own practice in line with the things I learned, Ujjayi breath, some of the postures. I'm also an athlete, so I know how to use my body. I know how to be safe in my movements. And I was an athlete once before. There's an international athlete inside of this voluptuous body. But and then I was, so the teacher with whom I was working before, we decided to part ways, and then I was looking for another teacher. So I knew what kind of teaching I wanted, but I couldn't find anyone. And my retreat was coming up, and I thought, well, I'm just going to have to do it myself. And so I had great support. But I basically decided that I wanted to do it. No, I have to say that I did a practice retreat with girlfriends, and we were just doing self-practice. I didn't even intend to teach. But on the second day, I just stepped up and I started teaching because I felt safe with them. I just spoke what came up in my mind. I just spoke. And there were so many pictures that came up in my mind, and I just talked through the pictures and moved through the moves that were coming up. And whole philosophies arose that came out of my mouth. And so it gave me, so I must have done maybe, we had 5 days and I did 3 sessions a day. So I developed, there was a whole set of philosophies that came out of my mouth, which I thought, wow, you know, maybe some I'd read before but never understood. Some were just things that I suppose maybe I recognized during my own practice. And so after that, I decided I would teach. And people said, oh, you must do yoga teacher training. And I said, no, I'm not. I want to see what this is that's coming out. If I go and do a teacher training, I will fall into that. And actually, you know, Western yoga, the way I understand it, and I do study, you know, I don't just channel it, I study, I practice, is really from men who revived a practice that was probably originally a female spiritual practice. The men revived it. This is what came over to the West. Everyone talks about lineages. Everyone talks about, oh, you have to be in this yoga lineage or that lineage, and these are all lineages from men. And so I see that, you know, a lot of Western yoga is very, you know, it's all about the alignment, it's about the posture, it's about the beautiful body, it's about a sort of goal-based spirituality, whereas the yoga, the way I experience it, is really an exploration of my inner space, of my inner universe, of the textures in my spirit, in my mind, in my emotional body, and how I become my body more. Me, who I am, is shining out of my body, and that's what this yoga practice is all about. It's really a mindfulness practice, using the body, joining the two things together. And so the unashamedness of that was for me to be bloody minded and say, I'm not doing a yoga teacher training. I am just going to teach what I know. I had good support. I had good supervision from a mindfulness, an ex-monk. So perhaps this is how the mindfulness became more conscious in me, because although he never used these words, but so it just grew, and I saw that people really benefited from it. And people say it's very different to normal yoga. I don't think it is, but I mean, you know, we use postures, we use breath. I just focus on the inner textures.
I think this makes it different. So that you really connect to your body, to your senses, and you feel and you breathe in it. So in normal yoga class, I haven't experienced that. So that you just really reconnect, I would actually call, to your texture.
Yes. To really, you know, because the way Eastern wisdom traditions explain the nature of reality is that we have this spectrum of consciousness, impulse of consciousness, to full reality, you know, solid physical solidness, but it's a spectrum. So, you know, there isn't a black and white space where one ends and the other one begins. So this is what we explore, you know, we are this consciousness, but we're also coming through this beautiful filter of our body. So we are a unique expression, like a flower, a beautiful flower that comes up from this big collective consciousness, you know. And but the other thing I wanted to say maybe about the teaching is that I had to, because I wasn't a yoga teacher, I had to be very clear about that. Say it at the beginning of every retreat, put it in my terms and conditions. And of course I had people who tried to, they tried to stop me from doing it. They tried to say, oh, she's a fraud, she's not a yoga teacher. Luckily, the Yoga Alliance and a number of other publications who had written about my retreats, they came to me and said, we have someone saying this, what is your position on it? And they gave me the opportunity to explain, and my explanation clearly was enough. There was no further problems with that. But it also meant that I did want to have a different word. So 4 or 5 years ago, I then decided to call it Embodied Meditation, because it's a meditative practice that I'm doing. Yeah. And it is embodiment, it is bringing the consciousness fully into our body, so that we fully occupy every cell of our body. So that's it, enough.
What I really like as well is you said that you trained yourself and you read a lot.
I do, yeah.
And then it really goes into our body, actually.
Yeah.
And then it is stored somewhere.
Yes.
But on a certain point, it can arise if I allow it to arise.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And it triggers things. And it falls. There's a great Deepak Chopra, whether you like him or not. I remember a thing he said on one of the meditations from him I listened to, and he said, look, what I say may not make any sense, but these are little seeds that are planted, and one day they may flower. And this is so true. Some of these things that I now feel so intrinsically in myself as real. When I listen back to some of these old meditations I listened to when I was first sort of studying this stuff, these were the concepts that they were talking about. Or even there's music. I haven't shared that music with you yet, but I must. This beautiful New Zealand singer, Paraquat, and she sings about the nature of the divine feminine, and how we relate to it in ourselves or in a sexual or partner relationship. And I spend 4 years every day listening to this while I do my practice, not really thinking about what she's saying, but listening to the sounds and the vibrations and the feelings in the body. And it took me a while, but then I realized, yes, she is singing about a divine aspect of ourselves that we must come into contact with.
Absolutely.
And it goes, like you said, it goes into our body. It might not hit our mind for a while. It sits in the body.
Exactly.
And then when we open the body, it comes back up as an integrated. That's what integration means. They say you've got to integrate your stuff. That's what it means. It's become part of my mind, my body, and my energy body. So and I experienced it also the other way around. So if I got a teaching and it's just stuck in my mind, it never reached my body or my heart. I can't recall it actually. Or really hardly. It's true. It's hard to. I have the same. I agree with you on that.
So whether I just have a bodily experience on that, this stays with me forever. And then I can call that feeling ever and ever again, and I can make out of those feelings, I can express myself out of it.
Yes, and you can express it in a way that you haven't heard before, and that might be more available to someone when they hear it. And I also feel that when it's in the body, when you have that feeling, you've understood it in the mind, you have transmuted it in the body.
Exactly.
It's integrated. When you speak about it, your entire body resonates. That song, that word, that music. It's not just a verbal sound bite. It's resonated with your entire body, and the person on the other side receives it with their body. And so it's a much more powerful way to speak.
And the other day I was at home and I was just going through my things, and I thought, damn, I have so many written things which I don't actually read anymore. So from trainings I took it with me, but then I don't go through it anymore. I only stick with this which is in my body, and this I can call or I can recall all the time.
Yes, it's so interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Sometimes I just go through, but really rarely, and it's interesting to see, and I think I learned a lot. I mean, I do sometimes go back through my writings about, at the very beginning I wrote down all the stuff that was coming out during these things, and of course I've forgotten lots of it. It comes out in different ways now, and I also notice
a progression. You know, I'm moving to different parts. So if you'd attended a session, you know, 4 years ago, it would have talked about different things. It would have been structured in different things. So it is my journey.
Yeah.
You know, all these classes, it is my journey. I'm just sharing my practice. But now and again I read back, and it is interesting to read, because sometimes and then I think, oh my God, yes, that was a beautiful feeling, and I can feel it again.
Yeah.
So,
but it's your own experience, what you wrote down.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my, you know, and then because I've moved on from there, it's nice to kind of go back and remember that journey, because it might actually help others. You know, to kind of. Although I'm not so sure it's linear like that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I also know that feeling. So sometimes I get back to things I wrote, and I thought, damn, did I really wrote that?
Yeah, that's so wise.
Yeah, I probably just reconnect to the vibration.
Yes,
and then it touches me.
Yes.
So I think that's it. Yeah.
I used to think it was ridiculous, people talking about vibrations. I think, please, you know, please, that's just so, you know, up your own. But if you think about what the vibration is, you know, a vibration is a pattern, you know, and science also says that there is no such thing as solid matter. Everything is vibration. And so if you think about sounds, words, you know, words have a sound element to it. So it's a vibration that we can hear. We know that sound is a range of vibrations, right? So there's nothing to say that when we speak something and we feel it and we transmit it, there's other vibrations arising either side of the sound spectrum that we can't hear, but we can definitely feel. So it brings us back to this funny word, you know, transmissions and vibrations. But, you know, a thought has a mental element of mental vibration, maybe even an image, you know, that's draws a picture in your mind.
Yeah.
So all these vibrations come across. It's not just the audible vibration.
Yeah.
And I have a real strong sense of that. And and I have to, I must say another thing.
Okay, go ahead. Absolutely.
Because you know, we have this beautiful yoga shala up here. It's a room that before I converted it with the help of a number of 17-year-olds and a man who was helping at the time. It had been not used as a room, so it was a very still room, but messy, full of all kinds of junk and pigeon shit and closed windows. But it was a still space. So we cleared it out and we turned it in. And since then, all we've ever done in this space is meditated or yoga.
Okay.
And so these walls have water in them. You know, it's stone, it's lime, so it's permeable. And we know that water stores memory. Science has found that. They call it water stores memory. But who was the Japanese scientist?
Yeah, I forget. Yeah.
And he seemed to indicate that water can also store emotions. And so as we're doing these vibrations, as we're doing yoga, we're moving the air, we're feeling things, we're sending out vibrations. They're going to be stuck in these walls.
They are.
And so when you come back into this space, all the practice that everyone's done before us also comes back to us, and we feel it, and it helps us do this practice. This is why churches are so amazing.
Yeah. And it's exactly like this. That's why I love to come to this room and take some to record it actually.
Yeah.
So because it's such peaceful. And what I also like is actually, I just realized while I was listening to someone else who spoke really slowly, and then I came home and I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. I actually liked more the silence between his words, because they were more vibrant as the actual word.
How interesting.
Yeah. So when I wrote him, he said, you know what, the best part on your speech was actually the silence between the words.
Was he offended?
He was.
Was he?
No, offended means...
was he upset?
No, he wasn't. He really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. No, he wasn't offended.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No.
But I mean, this is what we here do as well. We do noble silence.
Yeah.
So on the format that you're staying, we're only doing it from rising until 8 o'clock, and then we have the meditative yoga practice. But silence is such a beautiful thing, isn't it? Where you can just be with yourself and not facilitate anyone else or unload on anyone else. Really just be with yourself. So silence is a really magical thing. Yeah.
Super charging, powerful. Even from the word, I wouldn't expect it's powerful. For me, it's also vibrancy.
Yes.
I can totally, if I'm getting still, I can feel the vibrancy in my body.
Yeah.
And this is so, I can really feel where it is rising.
Yes.
Beautiful. And then it's just,
it pulses, a live thing. It's almost like a heart, maybe the silence, you can feel the heart of the earth, the pulse of the earth, the universe.
Before we get to the end, I would love to share that I loved your story about how you actually founded that place. And how quickly you decided to have it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So maybe you just share a little bit more about that place and why you and what makes it so special.
So I was at a point in my life where I had a little bit of money and a little bit of time, and I packed my children, who were just sort of 7 and 10 at the time. We went on holiday on the coast here. And I enjoyed it so much. The first holiday I enjoyed with my children, probably because I didn't have any stress. And I said, I must buy a flat here. And as you do, right?
As you do.
Yeah. And I didn't really mean it. But I repeated it back in London, and a friend said, I have a friend who helps people find properties down in the south of France. And why don't you speak to him? He's here. So I spoke to him. He said, why don't you come over? We'll have a look at a few. So I picked a few up on the internet, and I said, let's go and look at these. And so we went and looked at these, and I didn't like any of them. And then he said, why don't you just come and have a look? There's one for sale here in Chalabre. And I said, it's too far inland. He said, no, just come and have a look. So I came and had a look. And I walked in, and it was like that. I didn't like it. But for some reason, I made an offer, right? I offered. And 6 weeks later,
probably liked it a lot.
I think clearly, because actually I feel everything I've done in my life has led to this point. I feel so connected to my life now that this is really what I am meant to be doing. So yes, subconscious, did it. Anyway, so I just 6 weeks later I had signed the papers, and I was owner of this massive pile. And I had no plans for it. I certainly wasn't into yoga in those days, or didn't even know what a retreat is. So anyway, it was just a holiday home.
Wow. And as we said yesterday night at dinner, probably sometimes it's better if you don't know about it. Yeah. You just you just create it from your heart.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, it arose naturally. It wasn't intended or planned. It was. I think this is the interest. There's this interesting difference between we must have intentions, and intentions help us manifest. Another, and in a way, that's a very young way of doing things. It's the father energy. It's provider. It's But the other way is to just take every decision from a place where you feel truth, that intuition, or some people say from your center, or from authenticity, which is not guided from fear. So you avoid decisions from fear, but you just go with that flow, and something will unfold. And in my personal view is that if you intend, you are limited by your fears. Your intentions are always a limit of all the limitations you have, because intentions are always conscious. Whereas when you find a place where you can just allow things to happen,
and to
unfold, your subconscious also plays a part. Of course, your subconscious could drive you into another disaster, right? But so can your intentions. And maybe that disaster you need to, because this was a disaster at some point. I could have said, "Oh my God, what a disaster!" But actually, I stuck with it, and it unfolded in a way that's
in a beautiful way,
beautiful for me, and I hope for people who join.
Absolutely.
So that's a more yin way of maybe
creating something,
manifesting. Actually, you don't have to manifest; it does it by itself. This is what always striving of. We must manifest this, and we must just get out of our way. I think
just really let it take over.
Let it be, yeah. I mean, yes, we can have ideas, and they're in a way an arising of that subconscious. I'd like to go across the Pyrenees with some donkeys. I've had this idea for years. I'm going to do it.
The two donkeys.
I have two baby donkeys now, and again, that just arose, out of this coronavirus thing. So these ideas, you could call it an intention, but it was never a solid intention. It was just a thought. Whoops! Sorry, I'm kicking the table. Anyway, yes. So
thank you very much. This was really lovely.
Yeah,
it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you, and I'm really enjoying to be here.
Oh, I'm loving having you.
Thanks. All right.
Great.
Bye.
Bye. Love you. Bye.